Welcome, it's Jennifer McGuire, and I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to share some tips for adding color to Vellum. I really like to use Vellum on my cards or use Vellum to create the cards themselves, but it's even better when you can add some color to it with inks. So I'm going to share tips on that today, and I have a few different examples for you. Now, these cards feature some new products from Hero Arts, including the Hero Arts My Monthly Hero Kit for February. In the kit, you get all the products that you see here for a really good price. They make their price points really low. And there are also some great add-on products available, and I'll be using those today too. But you could do the techniques I do today with any products you may have. Now I'm starting out with a folded 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of blue vellum. This vellum is actually included in the Hero Arts kit, but you could start with regular white vellum or clear vellum, which I'll show you in a few moments. But with this blue vellum, I'm just going to add a little bit of color with a dry cloth. Any dry cloth would work. And a hybrid or dye ink. I'm using the Hero Arts Bold Hybrid ink in the Summer Sky color, and I'm just kind of rubbing some color on here and there to make it look like a sky. Now you can use any dye or hybrid ink for this, just try out what you may have. I just found that this color of hybrid ink happened to really work nicely on the vellum. Now I'm rubbing this ink in so you don't see any lines from the cloth, and also to help the color stay. Now you want to be sure to kind of heat set this a little bit by moving your heat gun around on it. You don't want to keep the heat on there too long because you might warp the vellum, but that helps to set that color so that it doesn't rub off. But since I applied it with the cloth and put it on and kind of rubbed it in, the color should be fine. Now I'm going to spray this with some shimmer spritz from about 3 feet above and just dab off the excess. You'll see my vellum start to curl because it is wet, but once I heat set this, it'll heat set nicely and it'll kind of flatten out. And then I have a shimmer to my vellum too. You could skip this step if you want to. I just thought that shimmer was fun. Wish the camera captured it. It's hard to see, but it does have the sky look to it with a little bit of shimmer. Okay, so we're going to set those pieces aside. I'll show you how the card comes together in a little bit, but first I want to create these stamped images with the coloring. So I'm stamping some images with the Hero Arts black dye ink. You can see the cats are from this cat and dog stamp set. This is an add-on stamp set that's available for this month's kit. I really like that set, and also this one that has a bunch of animals and some really great encouraging sentiments. So I have a few different images here. All I'm stamping on white cardstock with that Hero Arts black dye ink. I really like using the Hero Arts black dye ink whenever I'm using any kind of water to color. Now I wanted to have more sections in my umbrella, so I'm using a black Sharpie pen to draw some lines in because I want to do in a rainbow on the umbrella. Now to do the coloring, I'm just doing something not too fancy. I'm just taking Tombow markers and scribbling them onto my acrylic block. And then I'm using my Wink of Stella shimmer pen to pick up the color off the acrylic block and blend it into the stamped image. This is a great way to do kind of like a easy watercolor, but you end up with shimmer since you're using a shimmer pen to do so. Now again, I'm using the Tombow markers today. I really like these markers because they're pretty good price point. They have a brush tip and a fine tip, and they come in some really vibrant colors. But you could use distress markers or some other type of markers such as Zig Clean Color Real Brush if you wanted to. Now this again is going to have that shimmer since I'm using the shimmer pen to do all the coloring, but you could use a water brush if you wanted to. Now, since these images are small, I'm not worried too much about really getting great blending and great coloring. If you wanted to have really good blending and coloring, I would encourage you to use Strathmore Bristol cardstock because that really works well with this coloring technique. I'm just using Nina White cardstock today since I'm doing this quickly and I have such small images. Okay, so after I have these colored, I'm going to heat set them because I don't want to mess them up when they're done. They have some fun shine to them. Then I'm going to use the coordinating dies to cut them out. The thing I like about Hero Arts coordinating dies is the cutting edges on the inside edge of the die. You can see it there, so you know exactly where it's going to cut. When I line this up around my image, I know it's going to cut on that inside edge, so I can get great results every time. So I'm using a little piece of tape to hold the dies in place as I run it through my die cut machine, and there we have our images quickly cut out. I don't always get the coordinating dies for a stamp set, but for this one, they're pretty small, so I thought it was handy. Okay, now it's time to go back to our card and put it together. I'm cutting the back flap of the vellum card off and kind of trimming it down because we're going to sandwich this little flap that we're creating here between two pieces of white cardstock. So I didn't need to waste all that vellum. I could save that extra piece for something else. So I'm going to put some strong tape here to glue this flap onto a piece of white cardstock. Now I did cut this vellum piece down, so it'd be 4 inches by 5.5 on the front. And I cut a piece of white to the same, and that's what I'm gluing on the inside. So there you can see the front of the card is actually that sky-looking vellum. Now this is a new die set from Hero Arts. It's a bunch of nesting clouds. So you pretty much have clouds in any sizes you want, including super small and a super large one that you could use to create a cloud-shaped card. I'm going to use one of the larger size cloud dies to create a cloud out of white cardstock. I'm going to do a little score line that's close to the left edge of the cloud. I'm just using my trimmer and a bone folder to create the score line. And this will create a little flap that we can add this to our card. So I'm going to put adhesive onto the little flap as I did before on the vellum, glue that to the back of that white piece, and then we have that little cloud flap on the front. Now we have all this arranged here. We just need to put a piece of cardstock on the back of this just to sandwich it all together and make it look nice from the back. So this is actually white cardstock cut to 4.25 by 5.5 inches. I'm going to glue that right down. Then we have a flap with a cloud and the vellum flap, and you can write your message on the inside behind the cloud. So now it's time to add all of our little embellishments onto this. I'm using some craft foam or some foam squares to add our little stamped images. I'm actually only putting the adhesive onto the cloud itself so that it easily still opens. I'm stamping the sentiment with some Hero Arts black dye ink right there onto the cloud. And then I'll also stamp a few raindrops that I can add a little bit of color to, as I did with the stamped images earlier. And to make those little raindrops a little more special, I decided to add some glossy accents to them. The easiest way to do this is to put a drop of glossy accents at the bottom of each of the little raindrops, just a little small round drop. Then you take a needle, put it into the glossy accents, and pull it up to the tip of the raindrop. And then you have the perfect shape, doesn't take too long at all, and it really adds a lot to the front of the card. So we have lots of sparkle and lots of shine now. Okay, so in that example, I started with blue vellum and added some more blue to it to create a sky. Well, this time I want to show you how to start from plain vellum. So here I have a piece of regular vellum that's cut to 4 inches wide by about 5.5 inches tall, or about 6 inches tall. I'm taking some hybrid ink. You could use any dye ink here, just try whatever you have. And I'm smushing it directly onto the vellum and wiping all the excess ink away. Then I'm going to come in with that same color and put on more color in kind of those cloud shapes with the dry cloth as I did earlier. So what I'm showing you is you can intensify color by adding more and more on. I only used one ink color for this example. And you want to heat set it when you're done so you can be sure the color stays put. You can easily blend different colors too. Okay, so now I have this stamp set from the Hero Arts February kit. Lots of great images in here. And a sentiment from this add-on stamp set that I showed you earlier. I'm going to use those together on this card. This time I cut a white flap, and you can see there's a score line towards the top, and this will be the flap on the front of our card. Stamping my images again with the black Hero Arts dye ink, and then I'll do the coloring in the exact same way that I did on the first card. I like that the Hero Arts February kit has all these rain and sunshine and rainbow images that you can build together to create a scene. It even has little faces that you can put on the clouds and sun. I'm just using a few of the images today. And now we have our flap design ready to go. Again, I'm going to sandwich all of those pieces on the back, just like we did earlier. Now I did want to have like some really subtle raindrops in the background on our vellum. So I'm stamping with that same color of hybrid ink and then kind of dabbing it off so it's a little bit lighter and a little faint. And then I'm heat setting it to make sure it stays. It's kind of hard to see in the video. However, in real life, there are these little raindrops kind of falling in the background. Now we're going to sandwich with some adhesive all those pieces on the back and glue this onto a 4.25 by 5.5 inch piece of white cardstock once again. And there we have our little card design. Now this one has the sentiment strip that flips up and the vellum that flips up. So you would write something kind of behind that little banner strip. So there we have our second example of starting with regular vellum and adding color to it. Okay, here's the next example. I'll be honest, I didn't love where this card was going, but I went with it anyways because I figured I could use it to brighten somebody's day. This time I'm starting with vellum that is in the Hero Arts kit this month. It's kind of like a parchment vellum. It's really interesting. So I'm coloring it yellow by taking some Hero Arts bold ink and applying it to it. By the way, that bold ink is a hybrid ink, but again, you could use dye ink here. I traced a little circle on the front so I could know where my sun was going to be. And then I created these oh so fancy rays with some white cardstock. Now I'm rubbing over this with a cloth, some of the orange hybrid ink, and notice that I'm wiping it away every time so that I don't have excess ink that I'm smearing around. Also notice that I'm not spacing this out perfect. I really didn't feel like it needed to be measured just right, and I didn't make a perfect ray here. I think once you put the card together, it's just fine, but if you wanted to, you could measure it out nicely. Okay, so after I have these all done, I'm going to make sure I heat set this so that the ink doesn't rub off. Now I have a card with a flap on it. That's that cloud, just like we did in the first example. And I'm gluing a yellow circle behind that. This time I'm actually going to glue the cloud to the vellum just because I wanted to hide my inking there in the center. So now I have just one flap on the front of this card. Now I decided that that yellow circle is kind of plain, so I'm using some orange marker, and this time I'm using my Spectrum Noir shimmer pen because my Wink of Stella actually ran out, and this is what I had. You could use either to do this. Added some shimmer and color to that little sun and also some shimmer to the rays on the vellum. And I can write my message inside behind the cloud and the sunshine. So there you have another way that you can add color to your regular vellum. Okay, so now I have one more example that I just wanted to quickly show you. For the background here, I used some of that parchment-like vellum that's in the Hero Arts February kit. And I made it a top folding piece where I added some blue ink colors to the background. And I put it together kind of like that top folding card I showed you earlier. But this time I am cutting two white clouds and I'm gluing one to the front of the vellum and one to the back of the vellum, lining them up so that this cloud looks like it's floating on the vellum background. And there's still a place to write a sentiment inside behind the clouds. Again, I'm going to glue this to a piece of white cardstock, and then I'm adding some images and some stamps, sentiments from the sets that I showed you earlier. So here are a bunch of fun ways you can take plain vellum and add some color and interest to it and create vellum front cards. I hope this was helpful to you. If you are interested in the products that I talk about, they are linked below in my YouTube description, but I do encourage you to go to my blog. There's a great blog hop and a fun giveaway and much more information and photos. In the middle are 2 other videos that might be of interest to you, so be sure to check that out. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you again soon.